All right, now joined by Matt McCall, and we are going to break down a guy who could be the number 2 overall pick, Matt, and that is Brandon Miller at Alabama. Now, I remember when I saw him a year and a half ago at the Peach Jam, I fell in love with him.
hmm
But I didn't think he could shoot it like this. I didn't think he'd shoot it 38% from three as a freshman. He was a great passer. He played with Nick Smith in AU ball. He was
Brad Beal
not,
Elite. Brad Beal
yeah.
Elite.
You know that program. You know
I know
Brad
that
Beal a little
program
bit.
well. Used to be the St. Louis Eagles. Know him
Right.
well. Know him well. Yeah,
So what
absolutely.
what impressed you the most about Brandon Miller this year that will translate to the next level?
Well, first and foremost, look at his numbers. I mean, he averaged 18 and 8. And, I was looking this up. I wanted to see and go back to Kevin Durant just because of the similar body style, the similar size, position, everything. It's amazing. Back in 2007, Durant averaged 25
Yeah.
and 11.
Yes,
Uh,
amazing.
but but both guys struggled taking care of the basketball. Both guys had a negative assist to turnover ratio when you look at it, but the percentage from three at the position and how well he shot it all year. He had 41 versus South Carolina. I mean, Durant's career high was 37. So I was trying to, break
Yeah.
these two guys down today. Everyone's comparing Brandon Miller to Paul George, but taking care of the basketball for Brandon's got to be a big thing and a big focus going into the next level. The other piece of it too is he only shot 43% from two.
Yeah.
So is he getting to the rim? Can he get in the paint? He's an elite level athlete where he can get down there and finish at the rim. But those pull up jumpers, obviously, that's what separated Durant and has made him one of the best players in the game. But the fact that Brandon Miller had 41 and Durant only had 37 as his career high, man, that's impressive. 41 points in a college game, in an SEC game versus an SEC opponent. I know it was South Carolina who struggled this year. That doesn't matter. 41 points is 41 points.
I'm going to give you a better comp than KD.
Okay.
I'm going to give you Jason Tatum. They're similar in terms of their size. Now, Tatum got obviously a lot bigger and stronger over the last couple of years, and that's allowed him to finish through contact. Uh, Tatum only shot 34% from three as a freshman at Duke. Okay, so Brandon Miller's ahead of the game that way. They're both good passers, but that's not what they do. That's not what at that point
No.
they're called to do. Tatum's become a better passer, and his assist numbers have gone up. I think you could see that with Miller too as he gets more and more comfortable in the league. But I think ultimately, and Tatum makes some careless turnovers. He'll dribble into traffic. He'll get picked. A lot of that, his handle can be a little loose at times. I think those guys are more similar than people think. And again, multi-dimensional forwards. It's what everybody wants right now in the NBA.
Be able to space the floor, be able to play those guys at the four spot. That's the biggest thing. Be able to go small, space it out, drive it, kick it. The whole, back to the basket five man. I mean, there's very few of them in the NBA right now. I mean, Joel Embiid, Jokic, those guys are an anomaly. Like they're and they're the two the two best players
Yes.
in the league to even think about it. But both of them can play on the perimeter. They both have the skill set. Everything is more spacing, drive it, kick it, small ball, switch everything, right? Everyone wants to be able to switch everything. And I think that's going to be another big thing for Brandon Miller is his ability to do that. When he switches onto guards, keeping those guards, using his length, using his athleticism to keep those smaller guards in front of him will be a big key.
So obviously he had some off the court, I don't know, issues is the right word. I think he made a poor decision or two this year. Some people like to say that's going to affect his draft stock. I don't think it's going to affect it at all because, again, it's not like he was in trouble with the law, anything like that. Again, maybe some immaturity, a decision or two he'd like to have back, including in the pregame introductions. But again, this kid's talent level is so high. I spent a bunch of time with him actually back in Portland at the PK85 and also talked to his family for a while for a story I was working on before everything happened. And honestly, sweet kid, great family. And one of the things that really impressed me is they could have went elsewhere for more money for NIL. And talking to Nate Oates, talking to the family, they said this wasn't about that. This was about where we felt like he would be able to display his talents and be able to kind of develop the most. And they took less money for NIL with the thought of, hey, listen, down the road, this is going to pay off for him.
Yeah, but Jeff, were both parents athletes at the University of Alabama? Is that true?
I can't remember.
What I think the dad definitely was.
Yeah.
Brother
played ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just, the loyalty to the school, my dad was a middle linebacker at the University of Florida, and, I probably could have played Division II, Division III, gone somewhere, but man, I was born and raised a Gator. That's where I'm supposed to go to school. Right. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for that. Jeff, Eric Long is extremely close to the Brad Beal elite. He's the St. Louis Eagles, and Eric, sings his praises in terms of the type of human being he is. Yep. And these NBA franchises, there's so much money involved that they check every single box, and they are calling everybody. They are calling the trainer. They are calling the academic coordinator. They are calling someone else in the athletic department that may be close to him. They're calling every single assistant coach. They are checking they're going to sit Brandon Miller down and interview him and ask him questions. That's what these NBA teams and franchises do. So all the questions off the floor, different things that happen, those boxes are going to be checked, because that's what happens in this draft process, because there's so much money involved, and they're trying to get it right on who they're picking. So that process will play out for him as he goes through the next steps of the combine and the interviews that he has to have with these teams.
Our partner for today's episode is Athletic Greens. I started taking AG1 during the college basketball season, and I loved the impact that it had on my energy levels. I'm a big coffee in the morning guy, but by the time that the afternoon would hit, I needed another boost. AG1 helped me tremendously, especially on those days when I didn't want to get up off the couch and go hit the gym. Their tagline is AG1 is comprehensive health and the power of habit in one. And man, that could not be more true. It's nearly impossible to eat and drink in a healthy manner in the month of February and the month of March when you are in my business. And AG1 was exactly the supplement that I needed to improve my gut health and cover my nutritional basis for the day. I've continued that into April. I've continued that into May, and I'm going to continue that the rest of the summer. All I have to do is mix a scoop of AG1 with some water, or maybe add it into a smoothie, and I'm ready to go. Do it after lunch, and you'll be ready to go for the rest of the day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/field68. That's field 68 FIELD, the number 6, the number 8, and you can get yours now. So check it out and help support this show. Thanks.
Yeah, I just think when you're looking at it again, we know Victor is going to be number 1. But after that, Brandon Miller wasn't a guy in the preseason that people had in the top 5. Most people had Nick Smith, his former AU teammate, ahead of him. The Thompson twins playing overtime elite, Scoot Henderson, G League. So Brandon Miller was a guy, somewhere in that probably 6 to 15 range. And he shot up, and a little bit older as a freshman, Matt. How much do you put into that as to why he was able to make such a quick transition when a lot of other freshmen struggled this past year?
Well, we talked about Kevin Durant earlier, right? In terms of me making the comparison to him. He's more physically developed at this point in his career than Durant was in 2007 at Texas. I forget the story when Durant went to the combine and they put him on the bench and tried to bench 185 pounds, and I'm pretty sure he couldn't do it. Right. I'm pretty sure Brandon Miller can bench 185 pounds and can do it probably multiple times if I had to. Not that it matters, but I'm pretty sure he can do that. I just think he's 20 years old.
He's 20. He's going to turn 21.
He's more developed. He's more developed physically, and you can clearly see it. And I think that's a big key in the role that they put him in, give Nate Oates credit. I mean, they put him in the right spots. The floor was spaced. He's able to play on the perimeter. The ball's in his hands. He's able to shoot threes. They didn't just try to get him to be a rim runner and run straight to the rim and play down low or do any of those types of things. They utilized him the right way. They really, really did. And he flourished. And that's the biggest thing, too. He went to the right place. He went to the right place. And you look at, the NBA and the whole draft process, that's a big key.
Yeah.
Especially as a freshman, Kevin Durant went to the right place. He went to the right place. He was able to be who he is as a player and not put into a box of, you can only do this, you can only do that. I think that was big for Brandon Miller. I think that's why he's sitting here looking at the second pick in the draft.
Yeah, and I don't think it hurt him that he was the best player on the best team.
For the majority of the year.
Right.
No question.
Right. I mean, he carried that team. Now, he had some poor performances. I remember one game, he didn't take a shot in the first half. Here's what I'll say about Brandon Miller that I loved. I think his teammates really liked him. I think that was apparent. He didn't come in thinking he was the guy on this team, even though you kind of knew he was going to be the guy on this team. He didn't sulk and hang his head when he had a half like that. I think it was against Arkansas where he didn't take a shot in the first half. And he was able to kind of stay the course. He's very even keel. If you talk to him, if you watch him, you don't see a ton of emotion from him on the court. And again, that's another area I would compare him to Jason Tatum. Very, very similar. The only emotion you see out of Tatum is when he's upset at the referees. That's it.
There's something about that whole St. Louis Eagles deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I guess.
Jason Tatum, Brad Beal, Brandon Miller, they all came from the same AAU team and the same AAU program. And they're all very similar. I mean, you look at Brad Beal's freshman year at the University of Florida, there wasn't a ton of emotion.
Nope.
There wasn't. He was the same thing. He walked in. He was walking into a team that had McDonald's All-Americans. They had, Kenny Boynton, Mike Rosario, Irving Walker, Scotty Wilbekin. I mean, really good guards. Scotty Wilbekin ends up being SEC Player of the Year a few years later. There's a really good backcourt on that team, and Brad Beal just wanted to fit in. He walked into that program and wanted to fit in because of the type of human being he was, and wanted to get along with all of his teammates, and not a ton of emotion. And it's just something about that Eagles program now, Brad Beal Elite. They're very similar, all three of them.
Yeah, no, you're right. Their mentalities. My favorite story that Brandon told me when we're talking, I compared him to Tatum. Somehow we got on to talking about how, again, because of the Brad Beal Elite connection, he said the first time he met Tatum, he had no idea who he was. It was a few years ago. And I call BS on it. I'm like, come on, you really didn't know who Tatum was. This is like 3 years ago. This isn't like, Tatum as a second-year player. But he says, didn't watch a ton of NBA, has started to watch a lot more, but, big college fan, obviously growing up in that area of the country. But again, I think Brandon Miller, I'm not going to say he's a can't-miss all-star, but I think he's got all the tools if he's going to work. And that's going to be the key, right? He's already shown he can make shots from three. He's already shown he's tough enough to be able to kind of, first of all, handle some adversity and tough enough to also play against some men in there and get things done. I think the biggest thing is going to be his handle, taking care of the basketball, being able to be somebody, Matt, that they can just ISO and just say, hey, go get us a bucket.
I also think this too, Jeff, the place.
Yeah.
And Jason Tatum, is an extremely high character player. He was in high school, Chaminade, same high school as Brad Beal and David Lee, coming from that same program and that same tree. But where is he going? Tatum gets drafted. He goes to Boston. The culture is in place. Danny Ainge, Brad Stevens, the development, the work ethic, the surrounding him with the right pieces and the right players. Brandon Miller goes number 2 overall, to whichever organization takes him. It doesn't matter, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. What's in place there to help him grow, to help him develop, to help him mature, all the things that he needs to be an NBA All-Star. I keep bringing up Kevin Durant. The Sonics take him at number 2. Sam Presti had a plan in place. And then the next year they bring in Harden, and then they bring in Westbrook. And now the pieces are there, but the culture was there. And this is how we do things. These are our values. Like, that to me is going to be the biggest key for Brandon Miller. Who takes him? Where is the organization at currently? Who's in charge? What's the culture like? What are the values? And how do we help this young man and not just go out and be, 14 and 70? No, like, what is the plan moving forward, and who are we surrounding Brandon Miller with? I think is a huge key on where he ends up.
Yeah, because certainly Brandon Miller has the natural ability. We know that. He's a guy that could go, again, number 2 in the NBA draft. I'm Jeff Goodman. He's Matt McCall. Stick around. We got plenty of NBA draft profiles, breakdowns on the Field of 68.
Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.